Welcome back to another Easter DIY video with absolutely adorable projects. Almost everything I use in this video is from the Dollar Tree, and if it's not, I'll let you know where I bought it. Be sure to stay until the end because I'm saving the best for last. Let's bunny hop into it. I really hope that you have one of these hearts from the Dollar Tree left over from Valentine's Day. I'm using a circle guide here to make sure that my circle is centered in the middle of this heart, and then a 1-inch spade bit to drill into that circle. I would have preferred using a 1-inch hole saw here, but I think I lost them when I was organizing. I probably put them in a place that made sense at the time. I'm going to use a second circle guide that I picked up at Home Depot a few years ago, and it helps make sure that you pick the right drill bit for the job. So I'm going to find the correct size for this wooden dowel, and then find the correct size drill bit to match it. That way I drill a hole that is perfect size for my dowel. And despite me silently and repeatedly reminding myself not to drill the hole on the wrong side of the heart, I did just that. These videos take a good bit of time and work to create, and it never fails. I always create more time and work than I need to. But I'm going to correct this and put the hole where it should be a little later. After giving it a light sanding, I used black acrylic paint inside the circle. You'll see here in just a second how the bottom of our heart becomes the top of our project. I had 2 jumbo-sized popsicle sticks in my stash to pull out for this next step. I had already had them stained in a light brown gel that I used for a previous project. I'm cutting the sticks down so that I have one piece from each stick that's almost the same length as our heart, and then the remaining part of the stick will be used as a layering piece. If you look closely at the pieces still lying on the table, you can see that I sanded down the corners to round them off, and did that on all 4 pieces of the popsicle stick. You might see here that off camera I had filled and allowed that hole to dry, and then drilled a new one under the circle. And I'm just going to cover the face of this heart in white chalk paint, and then add some woodland stickers that I picked up in a book from Hobby Lobby. I'm using moss to cover the gap that was created when we put the rooftop on, and trying to make it look like it's been naturally growing there. And then I'll add some Spanish moss to the inside of our circle. And now adding the dowel, which is an unfinished wood, and it's a perfect fit. The bird that I'm choosing to sit on the perch outside the nest came in a small pack of about 4 tiny birds that I picked up at Michael's. I really like options when it comes to displaying things, so I'm going to start by creating a hanger on the back using a wood bead from the Dollar Tree and some jute twine. I really love this needle threader. It makes life so much easier. If I ever lose it, I'll probably react worse than I would if the internet went out. Some of the simplest tools make life so much easier. Do you have a tool in your stash that you feel like you can't live without? Let me know down below what that tool is. As a second display option, I'm going to glue 2 of these small wood blocks together and attach it to the back of the birdhouse to pose as a stand. Here is the completed project. I think this is so adorable. I can't stop looking at it. I put this on a table in my entryway, and it truly makes me smile as I come and go throughout the day. I'm going to start by covering this wood egg from the Dollar Tree with Mod Podge on the front surface. And I'll let that dry for a few minutes before adding on my napkin. This is a 2-ply napkin, so I'm pulling off the white piece underneath. I believe this is a Dollar Tree napkin, but I'm not 100% sure. If I can figure out where I bought it from, I will link it down below for you. Once I have the napkin positioned the way I like it, I'll use my parchment paper and craft iron to seal the deal. Now, I've seen other crafters really hold the iron on top of this for the decoupage method we're using, but it really just takes a quick pass over with the iron. There's no need to hold it in place for 30 seconds, move to the next section and do the same. Just do a quick pass over. I'm choosing not to seal this project because it's going to stay inside. But if you want to seal it, you can either cover it with Mod Podge, which I do not recommend, or you can spray it with a top coat sealer. And here it is, all complete. So fun, so fast, and so beautiful. The contrast and color saturation make this an elegant piece that I think you could display all spring long. I'm starting my Easter wreath by using just one of these egg-shaped bowls from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cover the entire front piece in the color maize chalk paint. And once that's dry, I'm going to tape off a section about halfway down the center of the egg. I'm lightly brushing over the washi tape with what's left on my brush of the maize color, and then using pink acrylic paint to cover the bottom portion of the egg. When dry, I'll pull off that tape and see this beautiful clean line. Off camera, I covered the entire front portion of the egg with a high gloss top coat. You can use any top coat you like. And once that's dry, it's time to decorate our egg. For this step, you can decoupage any kind of fabric or napkins, or you can choose to use rub-on transfers like I'm doing here. Transfers will happen very easily after you've applied that top coat. Spend a few minutes here decorating this egg because it's going to be what makes the entire wreath pop. The wreath concept by itself is not a new one, but I want to inspire you to think outside the box to give your wreaths a little pizzazz and make your neighbors envious. When done with the decorating of the egg, it should get one more coat of your high gloss finish. And while it's drying, we'll get a start on the body of the wreath. I'm using grapevine here that's left over from a wreath I tore apart back in the fall, but you can use a form from Dollar Tree or any other wreath form that you have around the house. And I'm starting here by just putting the lamb's ear into place, and then I'll tie it around the back to secure it. You may see me holding the egg up to the wreath form a few times just to get a feel for its size and where I want to place things around it. But we'll attach it here in a moment. I'm using a variety of different florals and greenery in this wreath because I want to lighten up my stash of florals, and I also don't want to stick to just one or two types. I think what makes a wreath interesting and full of life and flair is to add in just a little bit of everything. But you'll see that I do stick to the same color theme that I have painted my egg in. To attach the egg form to the wreath, I'm going to thread some jute twine through holes I mounted into either end of the egg form using my hot glue gun, and I'll show you here in just a moment how I did that. When making the ties to attach it to the wreath, I'm only tying it tight enough to do just that, because tying it too tight could change the shape of the egg. Flipping the wreath over to the front side again, I'm going to spend the next few minutes just filling it in with a variety of different flowers to make it lush and bright. You can absolutely stop here if you like, but I wanted to fill in the top, so I'm using a few of these glitter eggs and attaching them with mounds of hot glue. And of course, you can add a bead of glue where the eggs touch one another to add some extra security. And I'm filling in around the eggs with a little bit of that lamb's ear that I had left over. This is definitely what I wanted. I wanted bright colors, beautiful spring colors, an Easter feel, and I wanted this to be large and in charge with lush greenery and florals that will pop on the door or inside my home. And again, I know that every channel does a wreath for probably every holiday, but hopefully this one adds a spin that you haven't seen before and can appreciate. Let me know what you think about this one. I want to pause for a second and say thank you for still being here. Here are a few ways you can support the channel if you like this content and want to see more. I'm cutting off the top portion of one wood egg and then using a second wood egg to cut out pieces that will later be the ears to our sheep. Be very careful when you're cutting these out not to cut your fingers. And once I have them cut out, I will sand down the edges and kind of just round all of the points. I'm using another wood egg to cut out what will be the sheep's feet. So I painted all of the wood pieces brown, but thought it was a little too dark. So here I'm just adding a little bit of white acrylic paint to lighten things up. And now I'll use white and pink mixed together to make a more pale pink, and this will go on the inside of the sheep's ears. This fan brush will allow me to pull some of that pink out over the brown and make it look like fur. And now that we have some of that out of the way, now we get into the fun stuff. This is one of the bar hand towels from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut out a piece to cover the entire flower blank. And I'll use hot glue to attach the towel to the flower. Once I have it all glued on and trimmed away the excess, I'm just going back to double check the edges here to make sure that everything is glued down and in place. Off camera, because I lost the footage, I drew on what I think a mouth and nose would look like for a sheep. And now I'm just going in to add some of these wiggly eyes. And I slowly start to piece the rest of our head together. When gluing the head onto the body of the sheep, make sure that the lines in the towel are vertical, straight up and down, and glue the sheep's head closer to the top of the body. I picked up this dust mop, I think it is. It's a cover for a dust mop or something from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this to add three-dimensional fuzzy spots on our sheep. So I'm just cutting down a few pieces and shaping them up with the scissors. This first piece is going to be the hair of our sheep, and I'm cutting it to look sort of like a toupee, but it doesn't look like a toupee. Well, maybe it does once I put it on the sheep. You be the judge. And I am now gluing on our sheep's legs and cutting off another piece of this dust mop cover to fluff out an area above the sheep's legs. And then once I have the front completed for now, I'm going to flip it over and add another piece of our bar towel with the lines going vertically just like they do in the front. As I start to create a tail for the sheep, I realize that I really don't know what a sheep tail looks like. So this ends up looking like a bunny tail, and hopefully it's not too far from what a sheep's tail looks like, because either way it's getting glued to the sheep's bottom. To add a hanger, I'm going to use braided jute rope that came on a spool I picked up from Amazon. And I'll open up the back side of the sheep there at the top so that I can glue the jute rope inside and underneath that towel. And then I'll glue the towel back down. This gives us a nice seamless hanger for our sheep. And the final step here is to embellish her a little bit. I'm going to add a flower hanging out of her mouth and a purple ribbon in her hair. And here is what our sheep looks like when completed. And I have to be honest, I'm not real sure how I feel about this one. I definitely think that the sheep is cute on one hand, but on the other hand, it looks a little elementary to me. And I'm anxious to hear what you think about this one. Once there was a bunny whose only mission in life was to be eaten, but she didn't look real edible in this state, so we're going to give her a hand. I start by using an X-Acto knife to cut off the back ear. With whatever tool you find most handy, wiggle and lift off the top piece of the bunny's tail. And then do the same with the small cutout that sits on top of the bunny's ear. Repositioning this ear doesn't make a huge difference to what it looked like before, so you could skip this step entirely if you like. I'm now replacing the ear, sitting it more toward the front and on top of the other ear. I'm going to glue it in place using Surebonder hot glue. Off camera, I painted this entire bunny in an acrylic paint color chocolate brown. And now with Maisie watching and closely instructing, I'm going to just outline a few parts of the bunny to assist me in the next step. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Melissa, and this here character is Maisie, our channel mascot. She'll make an appearance when she feels like it, and won't when she doesn't. To simulate the texture you'd see on a real chocolate bunny, I'm using the hot glue gun to make wavy lines all throughout the body of our bunny. And at the bottom there, you can see my attempt to make the little flower, the classic flower that you normally see on chocolate bunnies. Off camera, I gave the entire piece another coat of that chocolate brown all over. Okay, so now using a darker shade of brown in the color Burnt Umber, I'm going to paint over these glue lines. The next step of applying a glossy finish to this is crucial in making this look like a real bunny. So please don't skip that step. Wait for it to dry and come back to add more love to the project. I think I bought this live edge wood round from Michael's in a larger pack, as well as this sheet moss. I cut down a piece of the sheet moss to cover the top of the wood round, and then cut out a small part of the back so that I could then set my bunny on here. You might notice on the bottom part of the bunny, I have attached a block of wood to help it stand up and painted the entire back side of the bunny to match the front side in that chocolate brown. Now, once I had the bunny glued onto the wood round, I realized that her front paw was just kind of floating in air. So I'm going to add another one of these oval wood rounds to the base here to support the front leg. I noticed that the second round had a hard line where the moss met the natural edge, so I'm placing a piece of moss here as well, just to make that a smoother transition. Moving on to the next part of the project, I'm painting a Dollar Tree candlestick in white chalk paint and then distressing it with antiquing wax. I'm also using one of the plastic parfait cups that come in a pack of 6, I believe, from Dollar Tree, and painting just the base of the parfait cup to match the candlestick. And now with this candlestick upside down, I'm going to use hot glue and attach the parfait cup. To fill in the area around the base of the parfait cup, I add some Spanish moss. So painting the bottom of that parfait cup wasn't really necessary. I cut down a small piece of scrap paper from my stash, and I'm going to use that inside the parfait cup to create ambiance in the project when we're done. But once again, this step is optional. And then just adding a few flowers embedded into that Spanish moss. And once that's all done, I'll set it aside. I'm going to take one of these clear eggs from a pack that I picked up at Michael's. They were in a grab bag that I received from them last May. I like these clear ones because they're easy to cut with scissors. So I used my scissors to make a jagged edge to make it look like this egg cracked open. Paint it with a lilac purple and fill it too with Spanish moss and a tiny flower. Whatever details you want to add are completely yours. Make it your own and have fun. Now that I'm finished with all the individual elements, I'm going to show you the lamppost and attach it to the base, as well as our cracked open egg. I wasn't crazy about the gap between the two wood rounds, so I'm adding one of these moss rocks now, and I'll add another one later off camera, which you'll see in the final reveal. And here is our bunny all finished up and looking pretty cute. Now this is something that you can do different things with. You can place candy. I have a couple of little beef sticks in there. And here it is lit up with a votive. And here it is where I've added the eyeball. Someone graciously reminded me that these chocolate bunnies often have an eyeball painted on. And I thought that was a great addition. You are the final judge, my friend, but in my opinion, this is a nice replica of a real chocolate bunny, and our little girl can finally reach her destiny and be gobbled up by some small child who really only wants to eat its ear. My friend, thank you so much for staying until the end. Here's a look back at what we created today. Here's another video I think you might like, and until next time, craft what you love.